Hey guys, how's everyone doing? I'm Damian Kurowski here from overundertalk.com. I'm joined by Jake Nichols, aka Tachyon, and Trent Arnold, aka Trent Arnold NBA, here to talk about the best plays for the Thursday, 28th of January slate of games. Big tournament on tomorrow, Thursday Monster, as per usual with Moneyball. To my right is Jake Nichols, who writes an article for Moneyball for that particular tournament. How are you doing today, Jake?
Good. I love the Thursday Monster. It's my favourite time of the week. It's the biggest tournament of the week, and it happens every week on Moneyball. You can win a part of $6,000, so that's pretty exciting. The main prize is over $1,000, and on Moneyball Locker right now, you can find a review of last week's winner, the real G West, I believe, and he took out the main prize of $1,200 or more, I believe. So you can find his team on there from last week, and Harry won the tournament.
What score did he get?
I think it was around the 350 mark. I read that article last week, but I can bring it up and we'll have a look at that one as the day progresses.
Trent just asking to make sure he didn't
break
Trent's record.
As we all know, Trent owns the highest Moneyball score ever for NBA, so
he gave that one a bit of a plug himself on Facebook.
I did. I found it on the Moneyball Facebook page, so I thought I'd share it with my friends.
About time.
I've got it right here. So it was the real G West last week who won the Thursday Monster $1,350 main prize with a score of 370.2.
Ooh, close.
He was lifted by informed DeMarcus Cousins, and that was when Karl Anthony Towns went for 62.9.
Alright, nipping at your heels there, Trent. So how about we cut out all the silly business and get straight into the first matchup of the day. Anyone got any objections for that one?
There's nothing silly about $1,300, but anyway.
Alright, so let's jump straight in with Phoenix at Cleveland tomorrow. I'm going to let Jake open up with this one because in the article that we linked this video in, he's already put in his value play of the day, which I'm pretty sure will be unanimous across the board. Do you want to give us an idea of who that is, Jake?
That is the man by the name of Archie Goodwin for the Phoenix Suns. Just before we jump in, I was going to mention the over-under for this game. It's 210.5, so it's going to be a high-scoring game. And we're also a little bit concerned because the Cavs could blow out the Suns here. But disregarding that, Archie Goodwin is in play tomorrow. We've all seen what he can do recently. Trent believes that he's going to be close to 100% owned tomorrow.
Surely he will be.
Yeah,
I don't see why not. I don't see how he's not in the 90s. He was 75, I think, today, or very close to it, so he should be really heavily owned tomorrow.
He's coming off a game where he scored 42.2, and he's priced still at $3,500. You got to play him in both your double up and your tournament tomorrow, 100%. First player that goes into your team, I believe.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that one. I mean, he's been performing well. He's in a situation to perform well, and just right here on the top of the screen, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers and their history against point guards for this season. Season long, they've been kind of standard, but over the last 5, they're looking pretty leaky.
Kyrie's back.
Yeah, exactly. So he might be putting in a little bit of extra work tomorrow against the Cavaliers, which will be very, very nice. So I think basically every one of us will have him in our personal teams. Agreed?
Yeah.
He's already on.
He's not moving from that spot up there. And he deserves the top spot of the Moneyball line up there.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be the biggest play of the day, I think. Also in this game, there's a few other plays, but obviously everyone will be cautious because the line is so wide. But what are people's thoughts on Alex Len tomorrow?
He's coming off a big game as well, so he's a player that you have to consider. And with the blowout potential there, I mean, they're going to sit Tyson Chandler, which means Alex Len's going to be the one that plays the minutes if it does blow out. So with the opportunity, I mean, he is a little bit likely to get into foul trouble, which can be scary because he does foul a lot. But if he can stay out there on the floor, I think he's going to put up some big stats, especially against probably the Cavs' second unit.
Yeah, the fact that it will be their bench players that he's matched up against for a fair chunk of the time is a plus. But the Cavs are pretty decent at defending big men, so that's always a bit of a concern. But Alex has been in some excellent form.
Yeah.
And still cheap as chips. I mean, not minimum, but he's close enough too. And he definitely warrants consideration. But is this a day where you go elite at centre at all?
We can talk about that as we go and get into the other games and all that kind of stuff, I guess.
There are plenty of options.
There's plenty of options, but
I think for now, Len's the best play, so we might as well.
I think, you've got to put him in, especially considering Tyson Chandler only got 19 minutes yesterday. They're running with Alex Len for a fair bit right now, which is good to see. And it doesn't really matter that this game is going to be a blowout because he's going to be on the court regardless. I mean, if this was expected to be a close game and they needed some defense, the Suns, maybe you could see Tyson Chandler out there a little bit longer, but it's not going to be close.
No.
All right, so yeah, we'll lock him in for now, but obviously there's always time to upgrade him. Or anyone else in this game that catches your eye, Trent. I think I heard you say something about Kevin Love a little bit earlier.
There are a couple of ones. There's Kyrie Irving and Devin Booker you can consider, but as a bit of a contrarian pick, I would say I do like Kevin Love tomorrow because for those that everyone should know, David Blatt was fired and there's a new coach in place, Tyronn Lue, and he has said that he would really like to see Kevin Love run with the second unit. And like we said, it's expected to be a blowout, and we said that we're thinking that the second unit will play more minutes. Well, isn't this the perfect opportunity to play Kevin Love with the second unit? And if you're going to give someone minutes, you're not going to play LeBron, probably not going to play Kyrie, who's had some injury issues. So Kevin Love probably is going to be that guy that plays more minutes than the other big-name guys, and they're probably going to try and run the ball through him a little bit more and give him the touches that he's kind of been wanting. So he's my pick to be. It's a little bit different. I wouldn't trust him in a double-up, obviously, because of the form hasn't been great, and also because, it's also because he's a little bit of a worry. But I think that I definitely will probably play him in a tournament because I think he could go off.
Yeah, I agree there.
Yeah, it's a great Thursday monster pick, I think, because he'll be a little bit contrarian as well tomorrow because he's at that awkward price range.
Yeah.
And there's a couple other options at power forward right now. At 7'4", he's pretty good. We could probably put him in our team for now if we're going to do that, and he's definitely worth. He's already in there. I like it. Good. So I like it. Another one in a similar spot for the Cavaliers tomorrow that could come up. Just very quickly, Tristan Thompson. Anyone? Damien's sort of the Tristan Thompson resident advisor of the room. No, not today, but you do love the bloke.
I do like him.
He's coming off a game today where he's managed 36.4 and he had 34 minutes on the court. Obviously he's up and down, this guy. He relies a lot on rebounding. Does he get minutes when the Cavs are blowing teams out or not? Because I think he does.
I think so.
Yeah, I think he gets minutes when they're not blowing teams out. So I think that it definitely won't decrease tomorrow when they're blowing them out. How much it increases by, that remains to be seen. But I think he will get more opportunities once maybe Kevin Love is shut down. Late third quarter, early fourth.
And we spoke about Alex Len, and he's going to have a little bit of trouble boxing out Tristan Thompson. I think he's not the biggest of frames, and we know that Tristan Thompson loves hitting those offensive rebounds. So against a guy like Alex Len that's a little bit skinnier, Tristan Thompson could really take advantage of that.
Yeah, it'll definitely come down to rebounds for Tristan Thompson. As you can see here, he doesn't get anything in the way of defensive stats, but he rebounds like a monster. So.
Definitely another great Thursday monster play, I believe. And just before we go for the game, one more quick sneaky one. Markieff Morris is getting around 25 minutes a game again.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, so for a very brave man, that one is. He only cost 3,600. He's getting some minutes. His production has been there recently a little bit.
A few good games coming back. A few there. Yeah, not bad.
I just don't really see him as a player you can trust.
Not at all. You can't trust him.
16.9 against the Philadelphia 76ers isn't bad, but you don't really want a 6.9 in your lineup.
Not at all. So I think he's
16.9.
He'll be a tournament play if you are very courageous.
Yeah, if you're running 3 or more lineups in the Thursday months, I think he probably deserves a spot in one of them. If you're running one lineup in a tournament, you can't trust him.
Yeah.
He's too boom or bust for that reason. But the boom is pretty tempting.
Yeah. Alright, so that basically wraps up the Suns Cavs game, and we've got a few picks in here that we liked so far. And let's move on now to the Boston hosting Denver. Nice little game here. My team, the Denver Nuggets, are underdogs in this one. Can't remember exactly how far. Would you like
so
to
the Nuggets are 8.5 point underdogs in this one. Over under set at 209, so it's going to be fast-paced game. Also high scoring. And what we know from the Nuggets is that they give up a lot of points to guards. For the season, they've given up plenty. Ranked 27th, I believe, so 4th worst in the league. And you got a little guy for the Celtics by the name of Isaiah Thomas coming up against these blokes tomorrow.
Sorry, just disregard that.
Disregard.
Alright. Yes, as we can see here, as far as point guards go, Denver are worst at defending them over the last 5. It's been pretty horrible, to be perfectly frank. So that automatically makes Isaiah Thomas worth a look. Do you think his price is at the right point, Trent? Or do you think he's
a little bit overpriced? As at that price, he needs to return sort of in the 40s, 45, and the line is 8. But if that does stick sort of higher than 8, he might not even play the minutes that you would expect, sort of the high 40 or high 30s, early 40s. He might only play 30 to 35. So to return 45, that's a pretty good game. And at his price, I'm not sure I like him too much.
I'm basically on the complete opposite side of the scale there. I think 8.2 is about where he should be priced season long, and obviously he is. But I think the matchup tomorrow is just too good to pass up. And I think of all the other options, because there's going to be so many blowouts tomorrow, this one, the 8-point line isn't really as big as it seems, considering there are 16-point lines and 12-point lines on the day.
Of course. Yep.
So I think the 8.1 is pretty reasonable, and he's definitely in my thing. Locked him in.
No, I think he's a great double-up play. He's averaged 37 points over his last 10 games. And price at 8.2, that's a pretty fair salary, I think. Now, obviously, you look at that, it's something to take advantage of. You look at some players that we put into our teams normally, and we're thinking, oh, wow, that's a great salary. It's not a great salary, it's a fair salary.
Yeah.
And you've got a guy with a fair salary coming up against in a great matchup. And that's why he deserves some consideration tomorrow. If you're looking to pay up for a point guard tomorrow to pair with Goodwin, that's the problem, because we already locked one of our point guard spots in already.
The thing that scares me most about that list, though, is we're talking about a good matchup. Look at him against two of the worst teams, Philadelphia 76ers and then the Phoenix Suns. They're two of the worst.
Fun fact, though, Philadelphia have been good recently since Ish
has
stepped up. Ish has been defending relatively well against point guards, so I don't disregard that so much as it doesn't affect my decision too largely. So we'll put him in for the time being at least. Another guard in this game, same situation. Denver just cannot defend shooting guards, and that's Avery Bradley. You guys backed him in last time. Yeah.
Just before we're going to hear something about Demo from this,
Alright,
I'll let him talk.
Yeah, from our last stream, these two guys backed in Avery Bradley as their 5K point guard. I disagreed with him the whole way. I did not like him as a play, but I just preferred Rodney Hood, and I'm going to just rub it in a little bit. Rodney Hood went for a nice 31.7, I think it was, to Avery Bradley's 20. So let's just chalk that one up to Damian Kurowski for now. I'm going to... I feel like I should get a
daily fantasy for you.
Here.
I will defend Avery Bradley here, though. He sat a little bit on the bench early in the game because he had 4 fouls, and then by the time it was time for him to come back out, the game was over, so he didn't actually come back on the court. So he didn't play as many minutes in that one, which
he only had 26 minutes.
Yeah, that's what let us down there.
But there's no excuses really when it comes to minutes. Rodney Hood was a better player that day. We've also got the same dilemma today because these guys are both playing. You got Rodney Hood and Avery Bradley playing again today. Hood's in a slightly better matchup, I believe. But let's keep on Bradley. He still deserves to be considered, even though he got in foul trouble and had 26 minutes. His average over the last 5 is 28.5.
Yep.
Which for his salary is brilliant. He's priced at only 5.1.
Yeah, I think in any situation where you can get someone averaging more than 5 times value, I think it's a pretty good look. And his price just hasn't changed enough for him to be out of consideration, really. So, and in a good matchup, it's just even more.
Yeah, he's also got that ceiling, which is quite good in the tournament. That balance of that good floor of 20, he doesn't really go under there that often, apart from the couple of games where he returned from injury. So, over his last, for 8 games, he hasn't been under 20 points, and he's pumped out a couple of 30s.
I actually was going to compliment you for that comment in the last stream, Jake, because that was a really good call, how you mentioned his low floor, high ceiling, because that's exactly what Bradley is, so that's a spot-on prediction.
And just a quick look over here at the positional averages. Denver just on the season 6th worst against shooting guards, so the matchup is there. You said you slightly like Rodney Hood's a bit better, Jake, I think. And they're around the same.
It's just the way that they give up the points, I think, was
a lot
more important.
But yeah, they're definitely 2 of the better shooting guard plays of the day. and we'll put Avery in for sure.
Yep.
I'll jump in next with a play from this Boston-Denver game that I'm a big fan of. Kenneth Fareed, coming at 6,400. He's another one of those players that is just solid enough, but can put out the big score when necessary. We look at the dud that he had recently, but before that, I mean, solid. I like him more as a tournament player, but I don't even mind him in double ups. He's got a favourable matchup once again.
It's a fairly good matchup.
This, as far as fantasy games go, tomorrow the Nuggets Boston one will possibly be the most fantasy productive game, and Boston haven't been excellent against power forwards.
The one thing though is that the Celtics aren't a great matchup for guards. So you've got Moutier, who we recommended last time, I believe, and it's not a great matchup for him, even though he's at the same price. And last time we spoke about his price and we said how it was a really good price and that we wanted to recommend him. But this time against the Celtics, who are one of the best teams at defending the point guard, it's hard to recommend him in this one.
Yeah. Alright, so for the time being, we'll put him in because we haven't got any other plays there.
Freed isn't a guy I normally play in DFS. I don't know why. He's just one of the guys with a salary that sort of increases incrementally and he just sort of skips out of.
And it doesn't go up because he has huge games here and there that artificially increase his form or anything like that. He just performs really.
Yep.
Alright, so does anyone else have any plays they would like to discuss in this game?
There's not many in particular. You've covered the main ones. Overall, it's a game I'm not going to have too much exposure to outside of Avery Bradley, I believe. Trent mentioned a bloke by the name of Will Barton before. Not sure if you're too keen on him anymore.
Not hugely keen on him, but he always makes for a good tournament play, I think, and his price has gone back down because he did have a few bad games there, but at 37.6 yesterday, and he's kind of that guy that gets hot. Yeah, you see there, he had the huge stretch of 32.5, 39.9, and then a couple of 44s and 46s. So that's massive there, and for a guy like that that can get hot and go on a run after a 37.6 game, I think you always have to consider him in a tournament, especially at less than $6,000.
Yeah, he's Will the Thrill, because when he plays well, he plays really well.
Yep.
But he's not really a person that I trust too much in daily fantasy for these reasons, like the little 10s and 12s spattered in across the board.
That's what helps his price go back down to a mark where it's going to be really valuable if you hit him on a good day in a tournament.
Yeah, for close to 6K, if he can whip out a 35 to 40 point game, as we know he can, you're going to be laughing somewhere in the Thursday monster.
Yeah, I also like Nikola Jokic tomorrow, but there's a lot of other centre positions, a lot of other options at the centre position, so I'm not sure I'll play him, but he had 37.5 today and he's averaging, I think, 27.5 over his last 5, so he's in great form. He's almost $5,000 and it's not too bad a matchup against the Celtics. They don't play too well against big, so I do like him, and if you wanted to say play Jokic over Alex Len, I wouldn't mind that too much. I'm not sure what you guys think, but I do like him.
Well, I mean, now we're at the point where we have to start looking at this. Do we like him more than Alex Len?
No.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so at all.
Yeah.
Just quickly before we leave as well, another bloke in this game, Amir Johnson.
For a guy that didn't want much exposure,
I just wanted to bring him up for one reason. In the Thursday Monster 2 weeks ago, he pumped out a 47.6 from nowhere. Returns 10.1 times value. Now,
18 rebounds in that one.
Yeah, just come from nowhere. I mean, that goes to show how sometimes you can't even predict daily fantasy. And
someone played him and
the winner played him.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
They're the calls you've got to make though in the Thursday Monster.
That's exactly right. You got to be brave, and that's what all I'm trying to say here is that the brave calls like that, the guys that just come from nowhere, what it takes to take home the $1,350 main prize.
But obviously, you're playing in the Thursday Monster and you cop one of these single-digit gems, then you're probably going to be in a very.
Well, there's a saying, I like Damian and you like it too. You got to risk it for the biscuit sometimes.
Yeah, try not to use that one.
They're at the cliches.
All right. That basically covers this Boston-Denver game. So let's move on to Detroit versus Philadelphia. What does Vegas have to say about this game, Jake?
So Detroit at Philadelphia. So obviously Detroit are favourites. They're favoured by 12 points. The Sixers haven't been too bad lately, so it's interesting to see that Vegas isn't still rating them.
Yeah.
Over under just a reasonable 202. Nothing too exciting. Possibly a game that you're not going to touch too much outside of a couple big name players. So I think Damo wants to kick us off with an elite here in this game from the Detroit Pistons.
All right, so tomorrow I'm going to spend up big at centre, and I'm going to play Andre Drummond. He's not been lights out recently, but last time he played Philadelphia, he put up a 48.2, which is more than you need, really. And I think he might be under-owned just because of these last two games. But then you look at the one previous to that, and he went nuts again with his 22 boards in that game. So I think he will be under-owned in a favourable matchup, which is something I like. I mean, let's have a look over here. Philadelphia on the season, third worst against centres. And just a nice little switcheroo here that just popped up when I go this way. Over the last 5, Detroit have been god-awful against centres as well. Like, what is going on there? That's disgusting.
Yeah.
But does that make you play Jahlil Okafor at all?
Jalil's out for tomorrow's game, which I think makes Nerlens Noel a really good play, especially seeing as Zach Lowe wrote about it in his piece today, but he spoke about Andre Drummond and how he's not able to really avoid that fluff, like he gets distracted. And I think for a guy like Noel, who's sort of a pick-and-roll lob finisher and stuff, I think Ish Smith he'll distract Drummond a lot, and I think Nerlens Noel is going to finish a lot at the basket tomorrow. I think he's going to have a really good game, and I think that Drummond would have been a better play if Okafor were playing, because Okafor's not a great pick-and-roll defender, but Noel is, and Noel's a better rebounder as well. So I think that it makes Noel a good play, and I think that it actually lessens some of Drummond's value a little bit, but not too much.
No. That's some good insight there, and Nerlens Noel has been great with Ish Smith back in, returning to Philadelphia,
especially without Okafor.
That connection is incredible.
Yeah, let's have a look and see if we can narrow.
You can probably spot it.
This one is around this point is where Jahlil was actually on the sidelines,
and he probably came back for that Clipper game, you would think.
Yep, and it was just Noel and Ish Smith putting in work.
Yep.
So if you want to back in Noel to do that again tomorrow with Okafor on the sidelines, it's certainly a good play, I think. Do we like him more than Kevin Love or Kenneth Faried? I think we like him more than both.
Yeah, I like him more than both, but which one? That's the question.
I'm not sold on Love's price.
I'm not massive on
I don't like Love for a double up, and we did say that this is a double up lineup, so...
Alright, Nerlens in. I think that's a great swap there, and that's exactly what we're after here.
I think the change in salary and the fact that this one should maybe still be a blowout.
He's going to have to play these minutes tomorrow as well to try and stop Drummond, so I like him a lot tomorrow.
I just want to bring up a quick contrarian centre bargain play here, one that you might not have even been paying attention to, which is good, and that's the reason I'm going to mention it. Aaron Baines. So we've talked about how the Pistons have been giving up lots of points to fantasy centres, and that's because Drummond can't really defend too well. Aaron Baines has stepped in recently. He's getting more minutes because he can defend the centre position really well lately. The Pistons are starting to trust him a little bit more, and he's starting to put some fantasy points up as a result, and he's still priced at only 3.7, and his minutes are ever increasing. Now, if you're looking for a point of difference at centre for a bargain, and you don't want to play Alex Len for some reason, which couldn't work out, Aaron Baines is your guy.
Yeah, I don't disagree there, but
I think there's too many other options.
Yeah, it depends whether you're where you're spending your salary really, because of the blowouts tomorrow. All the big guns could be sitting after 25 minutes, so it's going to be tough, and that's what we have to keep an eye on with our lineup. Another player I just want to throw out. He's a favourite of ours from last season. The Cov. Cornel Cov.
Yeah.
He's been really good for his salary recently.
Oh yeah.
And is he worth a look tomorrow against the Pistons?
I think so.
I think he is.
He's back to he went to this bad slump through late December, early January, where he wasn't scoring, he wasn't shooting well. And just wasn't doing anything. He kind of disappeared. He was getting less than 20 minutes at stages, but now he's back. I don't know what happened. Did they flick the switch, or that's what it seems happened.
Sometimes shooters just have to make shots, and when you're not, you don't produce anywhere else. Sometimes making shots really impacts defense, and I think that's what happened with him. He wasn't making shots, and the energy just went away.
Yeah, and I mean, Detroit recently haven't been excellent against small forwards, but I think the defining factor with Covington is the salary.
Yep.
He's just so cheap. He was at the same price as Chandler Parsons when Chandler Parsons was around this market, and I always preferred Covington. I mean, Chandler's been lit lately, but I think Covington's certainly worth a look tomorrow. But so is the opposing small forward, Marcus Morris. Does anyone agree there? I mean, Philadelphia struggle against small forwards on the season,
I think
second
Marcus.
worst in the league.
Yeah, they struggle against
Marcus.
most positions,
Yeah,
don't
Marcus.
they? Really. So
Yeah.
Marcus Morris, he's been pretty underwhelming lately, which only means to me is that he's not going to get played,
Exactly right.
which is where there's a bit of value in a tournament. He hasn't shown that type of ceiling that we saw at the start of the season or consistency that where everyone was talking about how it was a good trade for the Pistons to go after him. He's kind of disappeared. He's pumped out some 14s, as you can see on the screen.
This one was against Utah, though, who are generally a bad fantasy
Stingy.
opponent.
No, of
Yeah.
course. So, I mean, even looking at that, he hasn't been too bad.
No, he's been
There's just two
about
bad
salary.
games there. There's
He's-
just two bad games,
yeah.
which is the biggest downfall. And besides, mate, he's been really consistent.
Yeah, he's one of the ones we were talking about before. They are fairly priced.
Yep.
Like, they're not underpriced, they're not overpriced. They are literally just fairly priced.
Yep.
And if you
good
can
matchup.
avoid these streaks, which I mean he has recently, he's certainly worth a look. And we haven't got any small forwards in at the moment, so we'll chuck him in because he will be in my lineup. But I mean he'll probably end up out of here.
While we're here, we're
That's
chucking
another-
Cov as well.
Yeah.
If I had to choose between the two, I'd be going with Covington. How about you guys?
I'm kind of leaning Cov.
I played
after
Cov
this
today.
little discussion.
Yeah, I played
Yeah.
Cov today, and he was 24.5, which was fine for his salary.
Yep.
I was happy
That's
with
an
that.
excellent return.
Yep.
Okay then, were there any other players here that we would like to discuss? Ish Smith used to be automatic, but I think his salary's...
Finally got it right.
Yeah, they're finally...
Yeah, we used to
priced
say on
it
Twitter, go back and forth all the time, Demi. You got to play Ish Smith. If you're not playing Ish Smith up to all the way to 7k,
Yeah,
you're doing something wrong.
And now he's at 7k. So
and
it'll
now
be worth the
he's
play.
into that territory where you only play him in a great matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tomorrow's not exactly that. It's just kind of a neutral one. So I don't think... He's certainly not a better player than Archie. I don't think he's a better player than
No, I don't
Isaiah.
think
So
so.
we'll leave him exactly
Gone are the
where he is.
days of Ish Smith.
Yep.
Sadly.
Until he comes up against Phoenix or something. But yeah. Then he's a lock. Did you have something?
No, I was just going to say, we did just get a question, but it was about Hood over Bradley, so I suppose that's coming up soon. So
Yeah.
Leo, we'll just let you know.
Yep. Alright then, so we'll jump into the next matchup. Minnesota versus OKC. Anyone got any opening thoughts on that one? Because this one, to me, is not really a game I'm going to be touching.
Open up with the Vegas lines. Yeah, it's not a game that's too exciting, really. The Thunder are favoured by 8 points after coming off their overtime game against the Knicks today. The over-under is 210 points. It's, once again, pretty high scoring for the day. There's a lot of games in that 210 point region, which is good to see. So, do we like the Thunder coming off a back-to-back overtime against the Knicks?
No. Me personally, no. What about you?
Not particularly, and one interesting thing though is Steven Adams isn't playing. Nick Collison's starting. I don't think that really means anything. I don't think Collison can put up
No.
fantasy stats.
Yeah.
And another interesting thing, Karl Anthony Towns is starting at the power forward next to Pekovic. So
Yep.
that is an interesting thing. I think that probably takes away some value from Karl Towns because Serge Ibaka's a tough defender, and if he was playing on Collison, I probably would play Towns in that matchup. I'd definitely consider
Especially
him.
the form he's been
But
in.
yeah, but against Ibaka, it's a little bit more difficult, so that's tough.
Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns has been on an absolute roll recently. But do you not play him? I don't.
I wouldn't play. I always would probably consider him in a tournament because
You
look at
would.
62.9 and I love Towns, so
Yeah,
I'd always
yes.
consider him for any matchup.
That 62.9 was what took the Thursday Monster winner to victory
Yep,
last week.
I'd
So
always consider him in that.
Back him in again for this Thursday. No, not for me. Yeah, frankly, this matchup is just pretty bland.
I
for
do
me.
like a bit of Ricky Rubio though against.
I do like
Russell
Ricky
Westbrook.
Rubio myself. OKC do give up a lot of points to opposing point guards. Rubio is that guy I do like in a tournament because he just has those down games every now and again, which
Yeah, like
they do piss me off.
9.
Yeah, like you go from 15.9 to 45 in the stretch of 2 games, and that's exactly what Ricky Rubio can do. He's not super consistent, but he does have an upside. That 45.2 game was 7 times value for Ricky Rubio,
Yeah.
so
That's huge.
there's massive from, especially like that mid-range type of point guard that you can play there. He's also like, I know it sounds weird to say, but he's in that cheap enough bracket where you can keep going large
Yeah.
at the other positions. Because if you're playing a 6k guy, you avoid playing the 8 or 10 possibly if you're looking to spend up.
Yeah, he's only really one unless the matchup is super favourable, then he's not one of the kind of guys that I'd put in immediately into my lineup. He always just seems to be there when I'm looking to upgrade or downgrade, and that's how he becomes an option for me, and it just wasn't really necessary while I was making my lineup for tomorrow. Alright. Does that cover it for this matchup? I mean, it's going to be
I don't think
fairly
there's a lot there.
uneventful affair.
There's nothing there. Like obviously Durant is always
you've
going to
got
play in the Thursday monster because he has crazy upside.
Yeah.
He's also priced pretty fairly, I think.
He's priced really well
Spot on.
for the tear that he's been on.
Yeah, I think maybe should deserve some consideration. I didn't jump on board really,
It's
but
just, does he really care enough tomorrow? If they're winning by as much as they do, well, he's not going to assert himself on the game. Russell Westbrook's won more to do that in a blowout than Kevin Durant, I think.
I think the ball sticks to him a little bit more there.
Yeah, neutral matchup across the board, really. It's not something that's going to catch anyone's eye too quickly.
Stay away from that one.
No, there is nothing too exciting. I'm just looking over the rest of the players now, and I'm not even a fan of Russell Westbrook tomorrow.
No.
Sadly, just because you got
Yeah.
Steph Curry playing against the Mavs at a cheaper price, I think, as well.
But is that one a blowout? The line's huge in that one.
Yeah, but I'm going to take Curry with a cheaper salary, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, Curry does his damage, 35 points in
Yeah,
25 minutes.
that's
so-
exactly right.
Alright then, let's move on to the second half of the slate. First up is San Antonio Spurs against the Houston Rockets.
This one's a scary one for us Rockets fans.
Yeah. Do you want to give us the info, Jake?
It is scary, but last time out we played them pretty well, which was great. So
Really well.
the Spurs are coming into this after they were just defeated by a whopping margin against the Warriors. What a blowout that
Did
was.
not see that one coming.
Not at all. So they're favoured by 10 points against the Rockets here. Over under set at 205, which is pretty average. Obviously the Spurs play pretty slow basketball.
Yeah.
Redemption game.
So normally there's a couple of Rockets guys which have been in form here, namely Harden, Ariza and Josh Smith, which have all been great DFS players lately, but they're coming up against one of the stingiest teams in fantasy NBA.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my Moneyball piece this week I did defense versus position at the power forward position, and the Spurs come in as the number one worst defense against power forwards, as in, so they're the toughest team to score points against, and they've been the worst defense against shooting guards, small forwards, and power forwards so far. So they're basically the toughest against every position.
I thought Chicago had them beat for shooting guard.
No, last time I checked it was Spurs
okay.
as well, number one, which
So
is
that's three positions right there.
Spurs.
And those guys, I don't think, like I said at the end of it, don't play anyone against the Spurs, and it generally is the principle. But I'm still considering James Harden.
Is
a
James
little
Harden matchup proof?
He's
enough?
one of those guys that is matchup proof.
bit. I did have a look at this because I heard James Harden's name being thrown around, so I went to Basketball Reference and checked the splits against San Antonio last year and this year. Last year in 4 games, he averaged 21.5 points and 6 assists and only 3 rebounds.
It's
And
not
then
quite good enough.
this year in 2 games, 18.5 points, 6 assists and only 3 rebounds. So that's difficult. We do have the Dwight Howard factor, as in he's not playing and Harden's been so good without him.
Yep.
So those numbers that he has put up against the Spurs should be higher, but you really don't want to see him putting up a 23, 5 and 5 because that's not good enough for an elite player.
Nah, well, I'm not expecting him to be that low. I'm expecting a down performance from his last 4. I'm expecting around 45 from Harden, which is still great.
Which is fine. That's what's really good actually.
Yeah, maybe great's an exaggeration. Maybe
Yeah.
good, like that down below from great. Where
Yeah.
if you're looking to,
Bulls, by the way.
on my list it's different.
Recently Spurs and Bulls have given up a lot, but yeah, it's Bulls. Jimmy's been excellent.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So Spurs obviously tough against shooting guard. I don't think it really matters against James Harden too much, because we all know he can play anyone well, really. He plays ISO, they can run a couple of plays through him, they can do everything, and he gets to the line, which is important.
The most interesting thing there for me, I think, is so we know Trevor Ariza has been in amazing form without Howard, and it's partially because he's been playing in that power forward position, and we see there he's lined up at power forward tomorrow, which means that he might be on the Marcus Aldridge, or Tim Duncan is questionable, so you might see the Marcus Aldridge move to centre and maybe Boris Diaw or David West. If Kawhi Leonard isn't guarding Ariza, would Ariza be a good play there? Because Corey Brewer's listed as the starting small forward. Does Kawhi take Brewer or does he take Ariza?
I would lean Ariza.
Yeah, I would too. I think
Ariza's the guy you have to defend. I mean, you look at these last 2 games, he's hit 14 3-pointers. I mean, you should probably be putting more effort into guarding him than
Corey.
your boy Corey.
Corey Brewer struggles near the corner.
It's an interesting sort of debate you could have because Ariza doesn't have the ball in his hands that much. He's the type of catch and shoot player, and I feel like Kawhi would be wasted if he was guarding Ariza for the whole game. I feel like I want Kawhi defending someone who has the ball in their hands. But even that isn't Brett either.
Yeah, well, we probably will be on James Harden for a large portion of the game anyway.
That's what I expect.
So that probably does bring Trevor Ariza into play a little bit more.
I think he just gets the dish out. Really, that's what you look for.
This is the interesting one though, because when you're discussing someone like this who might be in play, he is priced almost identically to the 2 other small forwards we have in play. So it's a pretty clear-cut win-lose situation. Is he a better play than Morris or Covington?
Just because I don't trust anyone against the Spurs.
Yeah.
Sadly, Ariza doesn't make the cut for me there.
Yeah, but the thing is, you just want to trust in that recent form.
Of course you do.
Games.
Another thing, I don't really like relying on 3-point shooting. It doesn't last, obviously, and if you're shooting 6 from 8 from 3-point land, you can't do that every game.
That's not sustainable at all.
No, of course, but yeah, it doesn't really make it for me in a tournament. Yeah, go for it. But
I think I'm not 100% correct, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think the Spurs give up the least amount of 3-pointers in the league. They usually force long 2s, and for a reason, his value comes in 3-point shooting. So if it's not there, like you said, that's a bit of an issue as well. So we probably will have to leave him alone in this one.
Yeah, spot on. So were there any other plays anyone likes? I'll actually jump in. I don't even know why I threw that one to you guys. Kawhi Leonard.
Yep.
He's still underpriced to me at 7-6 in an incredible matchup for him. But is it going to be a blowout?
No, I think the Rockets are going to keep this one close.
I think they keep it close enough. Like, I don't think they're really a threat to win, but I think they keep it close enough.
Underestimating the Josh Smith effect, man.
I like Kawhi.
No, I think you're overestimating that one there. Yeah, the matchup here is one of the best at the small forward position, so it's in his favour. And once again, I don't think he gets sat, but I did say that in the Golden State game, and that was just...
He was underwhelming for us last time.
Although I think for that game, we just kind of stepped into the twilight zone for a day there where the Spurs get pumped by 30 points. That's not going to happen.
Oh, well, we also saw the mind of Kawhi looking confused and dazed as Steph Curry got open. And that's not going to happen this game.
Yeah,
that's if you're an NBA player and you see that flying around the Twitter sphere,
you're back.
Of you getting embarrassed by someone, you're going to come out.
Does Kawhi Leonard have Twitter? I feel like you wouldn't have Twitter.
LaMarcus Aldridge doesn't
anymore.
I'm sure he's aware. You'd have to be aware.
Someone would have showed him.
Yeah, the second after it happened, and that sticks with him.
That's going to be blind.
So here's one that I put forth. I think he is one of the better players of the day at his position tomorrow. Do you guys agree that he should maybe make this lineup?
Yeah, I think against the Rockets 3-and-D wings that can't play D, you've got to play him.
So the value here...
Over Marcus for me.
Yeah, I think we decided that Cole was the better mid-range small forward. So goodbye Marcus, hello Kawhi.
I actually really like Kawhi tomorrow. So that kind of, not quite elite price range, but I think it's a good price range to fill up your salary.
I mean, in a matchup like this, even at that price, I'm considering an elite.
Yeah, he should put up 35-40 at least.
Yeah, he'll hit 5 times value. Alright.
We better start flying through because we've got some questions to answer as well at the end.
Alright, so we'll jump into the next game. I don't think that there was anything else in that one. Next up is Atlanta versus Los Angeles Clippers. Give us the info, Frizz.
Yeah, it's a reasonably close game to be expected here. 3 points favourites are the Hawks at home against the Clippers. Over under 207. Once again, nothing very exciting yet. This is one of the closest games of the day, and it actually is expected to be the closest game of the day.
Yeah, that's why I kind of like one of the plays in this, even though it's not the most favourable matchup. It's Paul Millsap.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm a big fan of Paul Millsap in general. I call him the Mushroom because he's the great all-rounder. He just does a bit of everything, and he's been on fire recently. Like 2 40-point games in a row, and even a shade under the game before that, then another 40-point game. He just is one of the most consistent fantasy players. He was always one of my favourites in season-long fantasy, and it's really translating to daily fantasy. Now, at this price point, it's getting pretty high at 9,300, but I still think he's worth a look, especially tomorrow, because, as you said, this is going to be the closest game of the day.
Yep.
At least that's what the bookmakers are saying.
Yep.
So I'm going to trust someone in that game more than I'm going to trust anyone in a blowout. Even, like you said, Steph Curry, I don't trust him tomorrow at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Millsap is the play of the day at power forward for me. Because there's not a whole lot going on there.
No, he is Mr. Consistent. He's such a good double-up play. If you're looking for an elite play in that kind of range where you know you're going to get points from him, play Paul Millsap.
Yep. I don't think there's any downside to him, really. Any thoughts on the matter?
No, I think Paul Millsap's a really good play. You look at the Clippers and they have been good against the power forward, but I think that in a close game, he's their best player. I would say he's the Hawks' best player, which means that in a close game, he's going to have a higher usage rate because you give it to your best guy down the stretch.
Exactly.
Millsap's that guy, so I think he's going to be a great play tomorrow.
Alright, do we like him more than Kenneth Freed? I think we do for sure.
Yep. Let's put him in.
Good
we also
guy.
need to use up some salary, so I like
We've
it.
got a lot of average salary already.
At the moment, we basically have James Harden getting into the lineup, but we've already discussed that. Not a big fan of the move, so we'll see where else we can find the salary. I think you said earlier, Trent, that you're a fan of DeAndre Jordan in this spot.
I do like DeAndre Jordan in this spot, and I believe that the Hawks give up a lot of rebounds, and what does DeAndre Jordan do? It's rebound. He's been on a tear, 13, 19, a few big ones there, and I really like him in this one because I think that he's going to grab a lot of boards, and I mean you've got Millsap and Horford who are both decent rebounders, but neither of them are great, and I think that he's going to be really good in this matchup for DJ.
Yeah, it's definitely a favourable one, and he's one of the higher priced players that are worth consideration.
I think
tomorrow.
it says there on the board, doesn't it? 22.2 rebounds per game for the Hawks. They give up.
Yeah.
And
that's a lot.
That's a lot, and we know that DJ grabs a very huge percentage of the Clippers' rebounds, so he could get 20 tomorrow. Like that's not out of the realm of possibility, I don't think.
Yeah, I think purely because we do have the salary to spend, I think he is the better player to Alex Len.
I would think so. I think he's going to score 40.
Yeah.
You want the value.
No, I do like Alex as a value pick, so it's hard right now because we've still got one shooting guard spot that we haven't filled up yet.
And would you fill up your salary elsewhere then? You could fill up, say, Covington or Isaiah. You could.
We'll see.
Does anyone really?
Because we didn't like Harden enough, did we? And he was the only elite shooting guard left. What?
We have another couple of.
We do have a couple of shooting guards that come in.
I think it's
one of them by the name of Rodney Hood. So chuck him in for now. We'll come back to it. If we need salary, we know who to go down to. Very quickly, we almost running out of time here. We want to get through this as quick as we can today. I wanted to mention Chris Paul.
Alright.
He's not one that stands out, right? Like he's pretty. Like it sounds like a boring fantasy play, really. You know what I mean? He doesn't excite. He just gets it done.
He excites me when I look at that form.
Yeah, I'm a big Chris Paul
Exactly.
fan.
He's so consistent. Over his last 10, averaging 47.3. Now that's in the absence of Blake Griffin, who we could talk about that, but let's not get into that.
Yeah, he's not going to be back.
He's made a questionable decision himself, punching a staff member from the Clippers there. So. Chris Paul, is he in play tomorrow or not? At 10-3.
I think he's in play as long as Blake Griffin's out. It's just whether or not that's the position you're spending up at. And I think the thing is, at this point of where we are in our lineup, I don't think it quite is where we're spending it yet.
If
that
we have an extra 2,000 in salary, I would bump him up for Thomas. Let's say that's an option there. I would jump from Thomas to Paul if we had that extra salary there, but I'm not going to do it just for the sake of it.
Yeah,
so
and
take it if I can.
Yeah. So I think he's one we come back to for sure. So moving on, keep within the time constraints.
I think
there's nothing else too much there. No,
but I think a great way to get into this next one, the Charlotte Hornets game, would be to look at Twitter, because we obviously had a question about Rodney Hood.
So we've had a question from.
We've actually had two questions about.
Yeah,
2 or 3.
One from Matt Morrison, username Bozza09, who asked, "What do you reckon is the best mid-range shooting guard for tomorrow's slate?" And a very similar question from M. Smith, whose Twitter handle is Fan of Internet. He was tweeted at us saying, do we go Hood over Bradley? Now, these are the two guys that came to mind when we got that first question. If you're looking for a mid-range shooting guard tomorrow, it's either Bradley or Hood.
Yeah.
Now,
pick.
Once again, we're in this debate.
All right.
But we have to provide who is better, and
I think we
it's
should
so
just
hard
ask
to do.
Damian because he was right last week.
So last time we did
time.
this stream, these two said Avery Bradley. I said Rodney Hood. I was right. I was
He was
correct.
right.
But the thing is, I'm playing them both tomorrow. So if I was to take one or the other, unless that 100 salary is really an issue to you, like if it actually lets you upgrade somewhere else, I would probably lean Avery Bradley today. So I'm pulling the old swing.
Oh.
I'm leaning Avery Bradley tomorrow, and I know that Jake is Hood tomorrow.
It's a big trap because I hate recency bias in the NBA, where someone coming off their last game, you get trapped into thinking that they're going to be better because they're only their last game. Whereas in my mind, there was a reason why I trusted Bradley before that last game.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
I'm going to dip with Bradley again.
Oh, he's changed his mind.
Just because it's the Nuggets, and also because Bradley has been great, and we're going to look at what Trent said earlier. He only had that 26 minutes because of foul trouble, so let's not reading too much into having a stinker or anything like that. Like, he wasn't that disappointing for those minutes.
Stinker. It was,
No, it was
four times value.
No, and that's his flaw, right? That's the worst he can do for you. Rodney Hood can do a little bit worse. Rodney Hood can also do a little bit better, I think. So, if you want a safer play, it comes back to the other day when we talked about who's a double up or tournament play. If I want a double up play, I'm going Bradley. If I want a tournament play, I'm going Rodney Hood tomorrow.
Yeah. So, do you want to give your thoughts first, Trent?
No, I have to 100% agree with that. I like Hood, especially looking at the numbers there, and I think he's a little bit more of a boom player, as you said. And you said last time on the stream that he takes a lot of shots, which is why you liked him. And that's where the tournament value comes in, because if you make those shots, yeah, you're worth a lot more points. But exactly what Jake said, Bradley for double up and then Hood for a tournament, I think.
Alright.
Although tomorrow I'm playing both.
So to surmise for the Twitter questions, the mid-range shooting guards are Avery Bradley and Rodney Hood.
Yep.
So if you're looking for them, they're the ones. And we lean Bradley for double up, Hood for tournament. Alright, so now that we've got that one covered, let's just finish up this Utah-Charlotte match.
Yeah, for sure. I'll jump into that one. Utah, Charlotte. I'm just having a quick look over here. Sorry, there's one player that I had written down for this one in particular. And he goes by the name of Derek Favors. It's a bit of an interesting play because he's not getting a whole lot of minutes right now, as he's just sort of easing his way back into the team. But because of that, he is priced well below his expected average. He's had one game back. He put out 19 minutes on the floor. He's priced at 5'6". So he looked good in those 19 minutes. He put up 19 points, and that's a fantasy point a minute, which is what I love to see.
Yeah, and from a sort of actual box score perspective, that was 14 points, 5 rebounds and assists. So those are pretty solid stats from a guy just returning. And we'd say 5 to 10 more minutes, that turns into almost 20, and then 8, and then 3 assists, and that's an excellent game.
I think as soon as his minutes are consistently at least in the mid-20s, he will be in my lineup until his price gets back to where it was earlier in the year. But I don't really want to trust him in a second game back after he only played 20 minutes in his first game back.
No, because I think he's a great point of difference in the Thursday Monster, because if all of a sudden he gets 35 minutes, this is a guy that can score you 40 points.
Yeah,
very comfortably, right? So
and he blocks shots and gets steals.
He's not going to make my team just because of that reason, but he's a very, very, very good point of difference, and I'll be writing about him for the Thursday Monster article if you're looking for a risky play tomorrow.
Yeah.
One player there, we had a Twitter question about him. It was also from M. Smith. It's Kemba Walker.
Yep.
And he asked whether or not we like Kemba Walker for tomorrow. Thoughts on that one? And
he's tough.
I think his price and the difficult matchup, I think we're all going to agree that it's probably not one we like.
I think I would prefer to spend 600 less on Thomas just because of the matchup. Utah are one of the worst fantasy matchups, and he cops them tomorrow. It doesn't matter how high his usage rate is going to be. If it's a slow, grindy game, it's not going to be favourable for him. And I think that's just where I'm at on Kemba.
No, I completely agree. Just because his price is a little bit too high. If he was maybe at 8K, I'd be playing him for sure, right?
Yeah, 8K.
He's averaged 52.7 over his last 5.
Yes, he's been excellent.
Yeah, you see the 26.2 there, and you see the 27.4, and you can't afford that from a guy that's almost 9,000.
And I think that could very well be what he's in line for against the Jazz tomorrow. Yeah.
Although he
definitely, once again, in the Thursday Monster, give him a run, I reckon, for sure. Because he has been on fire lately.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I certainly think Isaiah Thomas will be the more widely played one in the Monster. So if you want that point of difference, then it's Kemba Walker. But still, he's a little too expensive for my taste, and I think my guys here would agree.
It's a tad too expensive. That's the only problem. And there's nothing saying he won't come out and get 40 points tomorrow. It's just not. I don't really want 40 points from a guy who's priced at 8.8.
Yeah, that's spot on. So another guy that you are keen on, Jake, Rudy Gobert. What are your thoughts on him tomorrow?
I keep saying this, Rudy Gobert. Right? This is a guy who is incredibly underpriced. I keep playing him on the days where he doesn't get these 40 points.
Yeah.
And I cop a 28 or a 23 or something, and I'm like, oh, I'm okay with that. He's not too expensive. But tomorrow, he is probably one of my favourite players of the day at centre again, just because all I can keep saying is that he shouldn't be at this price. I think he's the type of guy that should be priced around $7.5, and we're getting him for about $1,000 cheaper right now. That's all there is to it. We've seen that he can pump out a 40, and that's great for a tournament. We've seen that his floor isn't too bad either, just because of the price.
Yeah.
I'd happily run with Rudy Gobert tomorrow.
Yeah, I think he's a good play at that mid-range price point if that's what you're looking for. And just a fun little one, like it's a reasonably favourable matchup against the Hornets. And the Hornets, over the last 5, are loving getting blocked. They're getting blocked at a pretty high amount.
Going to say that Kemba Walker does like to attack the rim, so there's a fair chance he gets stuffed a few times.
So yeah, if you want to count on like one of these like 3 to 4 block performances from Rudy Gobert, he's certainly a good play tomorrow.
One thing while we're on Gobert, I'd just like to throw it out there. Zach Lowe's article today. Rudy Gobert, sometimes called the Stifle Tower, sometimes called the French Rejection. Apparently, he prefers Gobzilla.
Really?
Gobzilla.
I like Gobstopper.
He likes Gobzilla. So from now on, we're currently calling Rudy Gobert Gobzilla. I do like that one. I don't mind.
I don't like the idea of a forced nickname from someone.
The fact that he made his own.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that.
Each to his own.
I don't know how Japan is at basketball, but if they ever like meet up against France in the Olympics or anything, and
sure
Godzilla just destroys Tokyo,
I'm sure they'd be in trouble anyway.
That would be excellent.
Just quickly before we leave this game as well, M. Smith did tweet another question in earlier about whether or not Spencer Hawes is worth a look tomorrow.
100% is, I would say.
100% is. He's always got the tough match of Rudy Gobert though.
But he's a stretch 5. I think that's where the difference comes out. And we saw Hawes against a stretch 5, like Willie Cauley-Stein the other day against Sacramento King, 29.4. It's because he torched him at the 3-point line. And Gobert doesn't like to leave the paint, so I think Hawes is a really good matchup against Gobert.
Yeah, and I like him because of his price. The way I like to look at it with the minimum price players is there's really not a lot of point differential between 4 times value and 5 times value. So if he goes for 4 times value rather than 5, it's not going to kill your lineup.
No, of course. And another thing I want to point out here, which I was looking at earlier and it caught me by surprise a little bit. Spencer Paul was in that 24.5 game against the Knicks. He put up 2 points only.
Yeah, that's what.
So that's impressive.
Steals, 10
It's
boards,
impressive. Really impressive.
That's really
I
impressive.
don't see how that adds up.
And that looks like a good floor if you're looking
at
at Spencer Hawes right there.
Yeah, it is.
You're not going to score only 2 points a game.
That's true.
And I mean, if he does this, it's not going to kill your lineup
No,
because that's
not at
still
all.
more than 4 times value.
I reckon Spencer Hawes is definitely in play.
Yeah,
He's a good play.
It's just tough that the balance between him and Len or
Or your elite.
your elite. That's the toughest position to choose
I
from
think
tomorrow.
I like.
I wish we had 2.
I think I like Len a little bit more.
Flex.
I think I like Len a little bit more.
Len slightly, but I could lean with Hawes tomorrow just because you never know what the sun's going to pump out, really.
Yeah. So we have one more game to cover. Let's give it a look. It is Golden State Warriors versus Dallas Mavericks. So, do you want to give us the odds on this one, Jake? Because this will dictate our decision a lot.
Yeah, it's crazy today. Or tomorrow has a lot of blowouts that are expected to happen. The Warriors, can you stop them? They're favoured by 15.5 points against the Mavericks. The over-under is set at 215. It's a classic high-scoring game between these two teams. It's nothing different for these two. I wouldn't read anything into that. But how do we read the blowout? And what does that mean for some of the star players?
Firstly, didn't Dallas beat them earlier this year?
They did, but they were missing Steph Curry.
Yeah, it was without Steph.
That's true, but still, I mean, a win's a win. But I think it'll be a blowout. Pretty comfortable.
If it weren't for the fact that the Mavs almost lost to the Lakers today, I would think they would have kept it competitive, but I just don't see a team that almost gets beaten by the Lakers being competitive against the Warriors right now.
Even with their lineup finally not only at full strength but kind of excelling at full strength with Chandler Parsons finding form and all of that, I still don't think they're going to even push the Warriors that hard. So, and for that reason, with it being a blowout, does that automatically take out of consideration the big guys like Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson?
It definitely makes me
hesitant.
Very scared,
Yeah.
But these are guys that get their scores early, especially Curry. He gets his score in 30 minutes or something.
I don't think he's gone under 50 in his last 5, right?
Oh, man.
It's
That's crazy.
So good. But
that is crazy.
If he sits, he has to put in his...
Those numbers are insane.
He doesn't necessarily sit games, though, and when he does, he's already put up the damage.
Yep. 37 points. San Antonio copped that one.
Just once again, he's not that type of player where I'm going, oh wow, I have to put this guy in my team at nearly $11,000.
Yeah.
Which is not what you want if you're spending that much. You really need to be sold on them. I'm not super sold on Steph Curry tomorrow just because there's better point guard options.
Yeah. So do we like anyone in this game really?
Yep.
All right. Is it Chandler? Chandler Parsons.
After a 6 play of Chandler Parsons today, with a 33.8 score, I like him again tomorrow. It's going to be a fast-paced matchup, and Chandler actually spent a lot of time at the 4, which meant he got a lot of boards today, and that's one thing that I like against the Warriors, who, Draymond Green's a good rebounder, but they're undersized as well, so he could get some boards, and just like Damian Green, when he gets boards, Chandler Parsons can handle the rock, so he dribbles the ball up the court, which also creates opportunities in the fast break, and it gives him chances for assists. So in a fast-paced matchup with him at the 4, I like him a lot tomorrow. I think he's going to put up some good scores.
Yeah, I think he's still a little bit too cheap for the way he's been, very cheap for the way he's been playing, but I think eventually we can expect his salary to settle somewhere between 6.5 and 7, maybe low 7s. But I think at this price, he's still very, very cheap and still just a shade above Covington, who's currently in our team. So
it's just hard to pass at that form.
Yeah.
I like him over Cov.
And pretty standard matchup.
I do as well. It's tough to read into that. I don't like reading into small forward position that much.
Massive over
it's
under.
Hard. But
it's more so the team, I guess. It's tough.
But do they get... Alright, do the Mavs get blown out?
If they get blown out, they're more likely to play their guys.
The Sixers get blown out? I think so.
I do, but I think Cobb gets minutes in a blowout a little bit more than Chandler will.
Alright. That's
my thoughts.
When you're losing in a blowout, generally, if it's like 15 to 20, you do kind of put the guys out there in the last quarter to have that last ditch run though. I think that's a little bit different than if you're a starter. If you're a winner. So if you're a losing team, I think the blowout's not as big an impact. So I do like Chandler.
So I think the consensus is he's in play tomorrow, but do we consider him a better player than Covington?
I'll give him my one vote, so it's up to you two guys to split.
The way I'm looking at this as well is because we've got $1,000 left.
Yep.
And that upgrade fits perfectly for the team. So if we consider him an upgrade in a one-on-one matchup, per se, I think we run with that, which I think it looks pretty good. So I'm looking at the rest of the team now, and that's what is going to decide whether or not I run with him. The rest of the team looks pretty solid.
Yeah, I think, this is actually exactly the same as my lineup, except for Fareed here, which will probably change to Nerlens Noel now. We've talked me into it, and this is Andre Drummond.
Yep.
So everything else is exactly the same as my lineup. But Covington versus Parsons, that's the huge one. And I think it is an upgrade. I don't think it's a 600 salary upgrade, but it doesn't have to be if we have the salary remainder. So I think Chandler's the better player.
You mentioned Andre Drummond though, and I would consider him an upgrade on DeAndre Jordan.
You would?
Yeah.
So
that
now
doesn't
we've got
leave us with salary,
we've got the classic head-to-head: Covington and Jordan versus Drummond and Parsons. Sorry, no. Sorry, yeah.
Coin flip.
Jordan and Chandler Parsons versus Covington and Andre Drummond.
Absolute coin flip.
Yeah, that's as tight as it gets, I think.
Either or.
Yeah. I myself will probably lean Covington and Drummond.
I think there's a lot more upside
With which one?
I had it mixed up because I was reading the screen.
I think there's a lot more upside in Covington and Drummond. Yeah, definitely more upside. I think that Parsons and DJ are a little bit safer.
Yep.
Because DJ obviously with no Blake Griffin's got a high usage rate. Well, he has to rebound. He has to get all the rebounds basically because they run small ball units. So I think no one's safer. And considering we're playing double up, I would throw my vote to Covington.
60-point game from Drummond.
Man,
and he can do that. It's the type of guy that
That's
can
why
get
I got
you
him
20-20.
That's why I got him in.
Yeah.
Yep. So my vote is Covington Drummond. I don't think you go wrong with either, but I'm going Covington and Drummond. What about you?
For double up, I'm going to go Parsons.
Yeah, I was going to say the same.
Yeah.
I was going to say Parsons, Jordan for double up as well.
Yeah.
All right, so
It's a tough call. It's a great
very
flip,
tough.
but
and we are
have to decide.
making this for double up.
Yep.
So that's the one.
That's the reason why I've gone with those two.
All right, so we have 400 salary remaining, but I think the lineup is spot on, and there really aren't any places to upgrade this.
No.
No, I mean, if you like Draymond Green more than Paul Millsap, you can go up there, but I don't think anyone does tomorrow, considering it's going to be a blowout. But yeah, I think this is basically the lineup.
Yeah, as we wrap up, we've got another question from Matt Morrison. It was he said he already had Hood and Bradley Selector, which is good, so he's on the right track. And he asked Love, Aldridge, Dirk, and Noel, and we've obviously got Noel in our team, so we'd have to lean for Noel.
I don't think any of them are bad plays, but I'm leaning Noel for sure.
yeah, and to sort of clear up the question as well, if we had a second play from that group, I think I'm taking Kevin Love over Aldridge and Dirk there.
Yeah. I like Noel in both forms though.
Yep.
As a tournament player and a double up player, I like him the most out of all those. And then Kevin Love second. So
Completely agree.
For me, it's Noel, Love. Oh, that's the tough one.
Aldridge
Probably
against the
Aldridge,
Rockets.
then Dirk.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, that.
Another quick thing as well. M. Smith sent us a bit of a lineup to have a look at, and we got a couple of spare minutes when any rush. So we'll have a look at his lineup and give you some feedback. So we love the engagement we're getting from Twitter today.
chuck that one in there.
Yeah,
somewhere if
I'll
you
chuck
can.
this one up on the screen for us. See what we get going on. All right, so this is his lineup that he sent us on Twitter. I'll just kind of full screen it for us. And as you see, it's so very similar to ours, except for LeBron and Kemba. He's gone big there, and then got in the cheapy Alex Len, which we did discuss as a play that we like. Sorry, just cutting your face out there, Jake.
Mhm.
That's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, I think this is one of those lineups where there's a lot of personal taste going into it. I think.
Yep.
With the LeBron James play and the Kemba Walker play, but I don't consider any of them bad plays except maybe LeBron sits after
I'm not a
he
huge
comes
fan.
back.
I'm just
the
concerned
lineup,
about
that's
LeBron,
all.
but I like that lineup overall
It
because
looks
Alex
good.
Len's great, as we know, and going LeBron instead of Parsons has allowed him to downgrade Jordan to Len, who Len's a great player.
Yeah, that's a great play.
LeBron is going to be a safe play tomorrow. He just doesn't have that type of upside in the Suns game that I really require if I'm picking him. And especially because we've talked about some cheap small forwards tomorrow, namely Ariza, Parsons, and Covington, where you can downgrade and spend some cash elsewhere. If you don't want to spend up Alex Len and you like Alex Len tomorrow, you can look elsewhere and try and upgrade someone else.
Yep.
In particular, you can look at possibly one of the shooting guards, and it comes back to how you want to play your contest tomorrow.
I do have a little suggestion. I'm not sure if we can try it, but you look at Kemba Walker, you could probably upgrade him to Chris Paul. You got LeBron James, you downgrade him to Parsons, and then with Alex Len, could you turn him into Rudy Gobert? I'm not sure if you
Alright,
heard
so- sorry for that.
So you're saying,
Beautiful.
so you're saying Chris Paul,
Chris Paul,
and then rather than LeBron, you had which one?
Chandler Parsons.
Chandler Parsons.
So we might have to go down to someone
And
else.
then did you have Len in here?
And then Gobert.
Gobert. Oh, that's a big one.
Oh,
If
look at that.
works out.
It does too.
Oh,
I
that's
think it's a very
nice
interesting
lineup,
lineup change.
All right, so that's basically another head-to-head for us. So it works out to be Chris Paul, Rudy Gobert, or for us, Isaiah Thomas and DeAndre Jordan. I think
Jeez,
that's
I like
interesting.
that
That's so interesting.
I like that. I like that
Because
because
you know
I'm on the
you're
Rudy
the
Gobert.
gobstopper, yeah.
I'm on the Gobzilla train.
Gobstopper.
Godzilla.
But I was also on the Chris Paul train a little bit.
Yep.
You can't ignore that form he's been in.
Yeah, that's a...
I like that a lot better than the LeBron lineup just because I can't trust LeBron against the Suns because they're going to absolutely smash them. That's all I can say. I don't know if that's better than our lineup or not. Like they're sort of those ones where you just weigh them up and you hope for the best.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the way daily fantasy comes down to.
Yeah, I tell you what, that is a huge... I almost like this current lineup more for double up.
I like
Yep,
that.
I like it for more for double up too.
I think DeAndre versus Gobert. Gobert is the better double up play. DeAndre I like more in tournament.
Yep.
But
And-
this one I think is such a solid lineup.
I think the reason that it works well for a double up is because the Utah Charlotte game's got the line of 5.5, and then obviously the Atlanta Clippers game's been the closest game. So all these guys that we've got in our lineup now aren't really part of the any blowouts,
Perfect.
except for perhaps Parsons, but we don't mind that too much. So
Yeah, at that low
No.
price, it's not an issue. I think this is the lineup now, to be perfectly frank.
This is why we love engagement from our fans on
that's-
Twitter because it wakes us up to a couple other ideas as well. So
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. The gobstopper, the value there is going to be the carry, I think. Just carry over the other lineup. I don't think there's anything wrong with the other lineup. But this one, the value you're getting from Rudy is going to just carry this lineup for sure.
at fan of internet, we are at fan of you.
oh,
Yeah,
I like
there you
that. No,
Fan
we are a
of-
fan of you at fan of internet.
Fan of internet. There we go. Changing my own Twitter handle to that
Yeah.
right now. Alright, so thanks for your input and all your questions. It's always great getting them in. We love interacting with you guys and taking your ideas into consideration as much as we take our picks. It's always very insightful to get other people's views. So we're glad we could interact with you in that way today. And I mean, I'm pretty happy with this lineup actually. I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with all of the lineups we had, and I think this is probably the cream of the crop. Any objections?
I like it.
This is just...
I'm happy.
Yeah, like you said last time, this feels like another chalky for sure. Like it's just
Yeah,
so
like
excellent plays.
they're all excellent plays.
Alright.
Yeah, I like this getting together and doing this as
Yeah.
a team and with some help from the guys on Twitter too because the best thing about a double up is when you want to have the safest plays and the more people combining to create that
When
team,
more people agree,
you're
yeah.
combining more opinions together and you're getting a really safe team.
Yeah, so there you have it. There's our lineup for January the 28th for the Thursday Monster or whatever double ups you may be partaking in tomorrow. Just in summation, look, we're grateful to have you tune in. We hope to see you again next time. I've been Damian Kurowski, aka DM Kurowski, to my left and your right, Jake Nichols, aka Tachyon, and to my right, your left, Trent Arnold, aka Trent Arnold NBA. You want to do a little sign off there, Trent?
All is life.
Alright.
Just before we go, I want to say keep an eye on the Thursday Monster picks coming out of Moneyball Locker tomorrow morning as well.
Tachyon's tips over here.
Also,
That's the business.
we're going to try and get together tomorrow night, hopefully, for another stream and talk about Trent's Friday Aces as well. So Trent's Aces
Yep.
for the Friday games, he normally puts them up, and as we know, he does them a little bit differently.
He does them a little bit differently.
Alright then, and you might also find an over-under $2 tournament on Moneyball tomorrow.
Of course, let's not forget that.
Do we have a shout out for the winner of
I
the
should
last
have been
one?
more prepared. I'm going to bring that up right now. It's worth holding on to for a little bit.
Yeah, so basically we had a $2 tournament last time we streamed. We put it together. People joined.
The winner wasn't me.
Yeah, no, the winner was not Trent.
I also struggled in the tournament. I didn't place top 10, sadly. I placed 11th, I believe.
Probably because you didn't play Rodney Hood there.
Probably. No, I
That makes a
think
big
last time I did coin it Davis's day out and I suffered big time because of the
another
Yes,
injury.
concussion, sadly.
We still
So-
made, I think, 300 with our team that day with Davis's injury, so that's a pretty solid
close
return.
to-
It was 295.
Yeah. Okay,
295.
yeah.
with the hood.
Yeah, so it was a nice return. Like it's a beautiful return, but Davis with 17.7 let us down. So shout out to Rimo, who pumped out a 329.5 on the back of Steph Curry 52 points, James Harden 62 points, DeMarcus Cousins 75. So shout out to Rimo, who took out the over-under NBA $2 tournament there.
Yeah, and we hope to have you all enter again. Definitely keep an eye out for that one.
And it filled up pretty quick last time, which I was happy about. So
yeah.
Get your entries in fast, guys. I'll put it up right now.
Alright, so once again, thanks for your time. We hope you enjoyed the stream, and we will catch you all for the next stream tomorrow night.